Hello creative people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zenaida and this is Fashion with Zenai, a place to inspire fashion lovers to share my love for fashion and DIY projects. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a milkmaid dress from scratch. So let's jump right into the tutorial. For today's creation, I was inspired by this beautiful milkmaid dress which I found on Pinterest. So I decided to give it a try and create one. To create the dress, you will need the following tools. You can find all these materials in the description box down below. These are the fabrics that I'm going to work with. You will need 4 meters of shell fabric and 3.5 meters lining fabric. To create the dress, you're going to need a pattern. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create the pattern. But if you prefer to use an existing pattern, I have a digital pattern of this dress on my Etsy shop. You can find the link in the description box. Before you start drafting the pattern, you will need to measure your body. I have a video on my channel on how to take your own body measurements. You can find the link in the description box. These are the measurements that you're going to need. The measurements I'm going to use is almost equal as size XS to create a pattern. My bra size is 75A. To create the pattern, you will need the Basic Bodice Pattern. There's a video on my channel on how to create it, and I have a digital Basic Bodice Pattern on my Etsy shop. You can find the links in the description box. Before you start drawing the pattern, you will need the measurement of your bust radius. This is the distance between the bust point to the underwire of your bra, or where a wire would be if you had that kind of bra. In my case, this is 6.5 centimeters. You're going to measure 6.5 centimeters. Use a compass and put the point into the bust point and draw a circle, or you can use a measurement tape to draw the circle. Then you're going to start contouring. Contouring is used to remove excess from your pattern so that garments can fit better on your body. I have a contouring video on my channel, so I'm not gonna go into much details. You can find the link in the description box. This basic bodice pattern that I'm using is actually one that I made true to my own body size, which is almost equal as the standard digital pattern measurements size XS. Measure 1 centimeter on both sides of the waist dart along the bust circle and mark a point on either sides. To reduce any excess from strapless designs or crop tops, you're going to measure 1.3 centimeter from the bottom of the armhole. Then you're going to mark the armhole point and draw a line from this point to the corner of the waistline. Draw a line from 90 degrees from the bust point to the center front line. Then you're going to draw the bottom cup shape. From the point of the center front line, measure 3 centimeters down. From the point of the center front line, measure 4.5 centimeters up. From the bust, measure 4.5 centimeters up on the left and right dart leg. Draw a line from the center front line point to the right dart leg point, and a line from the left dart leg point to the armhole. This line is where the cup piece of the dress starts, so I suggest to first measure how high you want it to be from your nipple, which is your bust point. And if you have bigger boobs and you want to cover that fully up, then I suggest to measure more than 4.5 centimeter, for example 6 centimeter or more. It all depends on where you want your cup to start. From the armhole point, measure 1.5 centimeter inwards. Draw a curvy line from the armhole side point to the armhole point. From the center front line, measure 1.5 centimeter inwards. From this point, draw a line to the center front line point. Draw the curvy cup line from the center front line point to the bottom circle. Then draw the curvy cup line to the armhole point. Mark the line where you're going to cut. This is the center front piece. This is going to be the cup piece, and this is going to be the side front piece. Cut out 3 front pieces. Write down each piece. Measure 1 centimeter down from the armhole corner. From this point, measure 1.3 centimeter outwards. Draw a line from the corner of the waistline. Make sure you always check the side length. It should be the same length as the side of the front piece. Draw a horizontal line from the armhole corner point to the center back line. Then you're going to contour the back. Determine the center of the back neckline and the armhole line. Mark a point and draw the across back line. Normally it should be around 10 to 13 centimeter below the neck. Draw a line to the dart point. Measure the standard measurement of 0.6 centimeter on either side of the waist dart leg and mark a point. Draw a line from the cross back line to the point on either side. Measure 7 centimeter up from the armhole corner. From that point, measure 1.5 centimeter inwards. Draw a curvy line from the armhole corner to that point. Then you're going to draw a curvy line to the center back line. Now you're going to cut the 2 back pieces. Draw the notches of the back and front pieces. To create the definitive cup, you're going to create 3 lines in the cup so you can have 4 pieces. To have a bigger cup, you need to cut the cup in 4 pieces. You're going to place the 4 pieces on a new pattern paper. Draw a horizontal line. Measure 30 centimeter for the width of the cup. If you have bigger boobs, then I suggest to measure more than 30 centimeter. Place the 4 pieces on a paper and spread the piece with 5 centimeter in between each piece. Draw the cup shape and cut out the cup piece.
For the cup, you're going to create a strap piece. The length is going to be 50 centimeter and the width is 2 centimeter. The center of the strap is going to be the fold line. To create a puffy sleeve, you're going to need the basic sleeve pattern. I have a video on my channel on how to create a basic sleeve pattern, and on my Etsy shop you can find a digital sleeve pattern. The link will be in the description box. You're going to make some changes on the pattern to create a puffy sleeve. Create 2 straight side lines and create 5 lines in the sleeve so you can have 6 pieces. Measure the length of your sleeve and draw a line. This is how the length of the sleeve should look like. To get that puffiness, you need to make the sleeve big. The width of the sleeve is going to be 80 cm with a length of 50 cm. Place 6 pieces on a new pattern paper and spread 6 pieces with 3 cm in between. The number of centimeter in between all depends on how big you want the sleeve to be. You're going to measure 3 cm from the bottom and draw a line. This is going to be the fold line where you're going to create the channel for the elastic so you can get that ruffle on the bottom of the sleeve. Draw the armhole curvy line and mark the end point on the armhole. From the side edge of the armhole until this point is where you're going to connect the armhole of the bodice piece with the sleeve. Then you're going to cut the sleeve pattern. Make sure the armhole length of the bodice piece is the same length as the armhole part of the sleeve. This armhole length is the armhole part that you're going to connect together.
Lastly, you're going to create the skirt pattern. You're going to create 3 pattern pieces, 1 skirt pattern for the back, and 2 front pieces. To create the skirt, you will need your waist measurement. Mine is 62 cm. First, you're going to create the front pieces. Cut out a pattern paper with a length of 1 meter and a width of 2 meters. Fold the pattern paper in half at the fold line. Divide your waist measurement by 4.
Draw a curvy line of 15.5 cm and draw the skirt length with 80 cm. I wanted my skirt length to be a little shorter than 80 cm, so I removed 10 cm from the bottom and I made my skirt length with a length of 70 cm. But the skirt length on my digital pattern is 80 cm, so feel free to adjust the length.
Cut out the skirt pattern. Unfold the pattern. Then you're going to create the slit line of the skirt. To determine the waist length of the 2 skirt front pieces, you need to measure the waistline of the bodice piece. The left side of the bodice is 8 cm. The other pieces are together 23 cm. The total waist length of the front is 31 cm. Draw the slit line and cut the pattern in 2 front pieces. So make sure that half of the waist measurement of the front piece is equal to the waist measurement of the bodice front piece. Then you're going to write down the annotation of the front pieces of the skirt. For the back, you're going to draw 1 pattern piece. Cut out a pattern paper with a length and width of 1 meter. Draw the curvy edges the same way as you did for the front piece. Make sure the waist length of the bodice back piece is the same length as the curvy waist edge of the skirt. Cut out the skirt pattern and write down the annotations for the back piece of the skirt. Now we're going to cut the fabric with the pattern pieces.
Place the 6 pattern pieces on the shell fabric. Cut 4 pieces for the cup. Place the center front on the fabric fold and cut out 1 piece. Cut 2 pieces for the side front, 2 pieces for the center back, 2 pieces for the side back, and 2 pieces for the straps. Place the center front piece on the fabric fold and cut out 1 piece. You're going to place 4 pieces on the lining fabric except the cup and strap piece. Place the 4 bodice pieces on the lining. Place the 4 cup pieces on the shell fabric. Keep in mind that 2 pieces of the cup are going to be used as a shell and the other 2 pieces as a lining. Then you're going to add seam allowance on all edges of the shell and lining fabric. I wrote all the seam allowance next to the edges of the shell fabric. I added 1 centimeter on these edges. The number of centimeters depends on the width of the boning or zip ties that you're going to use. So I suggest to add 1.5 centimeter seam in case you're going to use a wider boning. For the lining, you're going to cut each piece on the interfacing. Iron the interfacing pieces on the wrong side of the lining fabric pieces. I'm placing a cotton fabric on top of the interfacing while I'm ironing the pieces. Then you should have 3 front interfacing pieces and 4 interfacing pieces for the back. Add 1.5 centimeter seam on the curvy edge of the sleeve and 1 centimeter on the side edges. For the hem fold line, you can use a tracing paper to trace the line on the fabric.
Then you're going to cut 2 sleeve pieces. Place the 2 front pieces on the fabric. Cut out 1 piece on the shell and lining. Add seam allowance to the waist, side, slit edge, and hem. Place the back piece on the fabric. Cut out 2 pieces on the shell and lining. Add seam allowance to the waist, side, zipper seam, and hem.
And then you're going to start with the sewing process. Connect the 3 front pieces together with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Sew the edges with 1.5 centimeter seam. And you do the same for the lining fabric. I hope you can see the lining fabric since I'm working on a white table. So I apologize if the white lining fabric is not clearly visible. I hadn't concerned it until I saw the images on my computer after I had filmed everything. Connect the side and the center back pieces together with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Pin the edges. Sew the edges with 1.5 centimeter seam. And you repeat the same steps for the lining fabric. Iron the seam of the front piece flat for a clean look. To secure the edges, you're going to overlock each edge with a serger, because this is where you're going to place the boning or the zip ties later on. And you do the same for the back pieces. Iron the edges of the lining pieces and overlock each edge for the front and back pieces. Connect the side edges of the front and back pieces together. Sew the side with 1 centimeter seam. And you do the same for the lining pieces. For the cup pieces, you're going to gather the edge from the side all along to the end of the bottom edge. You're going to do 2 stitches. I'm not gonna go into details on how to gather. On my channel you can see all the gathering details on my DIY on the bust crop top video. This is how the 2 stitches will look like. You're going to pull the 2 stitches and gather all the 4 cup pieces. These are the 4 cup pieces. The length of the gathered edge has to be the same length as your curvy bottom top piece of the dress. Connect the shell fabric piece of the cup with the bottom top piece with the good side of the fabric facing each other. And you do the same for the lining pieces. Pin the cup from the center to the armhole corner. You're going to start sewing from the armhole corner until 1 centimeter before the center. Then from the center, leave 1 centimeter open space and then start sewing here until the armhole corner of the right side. For the lining, you're going to repeat the same steps. After sewing it, you're going to remove the gathered threads from the shell and lining piece. Then you're going to connect the shell piece with the lining with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Pin the upper back edge. For the cup, you're going to pin the upper edge from the armhole corner all the way to the other side of the armhole corner. And you have to leave the armhole open. At the back, you're going to sew the edge with 1 centimeter seam, leave the armhole open, and sew the upper cup edge. Leave 1 centimeter open so you can create a channel later on, and after the 1 centimeter open space, you're going to start sewing the V shape of the cup with 1 centimeter seam. Then leave 1 centimeter open and continue to sew the upper edge of the right cup side. Leave the armhole open and sew the back edge with 1 centimeter seam. So here is where you're going to have 1 centimeter open space. After you sew it, this is how the open space should look like. After you sew the top piece of the dress, you're going to turn it inside out. Iron all the seams flat for a clean look. To create a channel, you're going to top stitch 1 centimeter from the cup edge. Start stitching from the armhole. This is how the channel will look like. Then you're going to make the straps that you're going to place into the channel. Sew the edge of the straps with 1 cm seam, then you're going to trim the edges. Turn the straps inside out. You can use a loop, and if you don't have one, you can use a bobby pin or a safety pin. Bring the straps into the channels. Then you're going to do a safety stitch for the straps at the armhole edge. Tie a knot at the end of the straps. The piece that you're going to connect to the top piece of the dress are the sleeves. You're going to apply the elastic to the armhole and the bottom of the fold line. First, you're going to overlock the bottom and the armhole edge. Fold the bottom edge at the fold line with 3 cm and iron the fold line to make it flat. Then you're going to make 2 stitches to create 1 cm channel so you can insert the elastic. Sew the first stitch along the edge and sew the second stitch 1 cm from the edge. Then you're going to insert the elastic into the channel. You're going to measure the width of the arm above your elbow and mark the length on the elastic with a chalk. In my case, it's 22 cm plus 2 cm extra for the seam. This makes it in total 24 cm. Cut 2 elastic pieces of 24 cm. You're going to cut a small hole in the elastic and insert the elastic into the channel with a loop. Then you're going to bring the elastic into the channel. Secure the elastic with a pin. Then you're going to cut the elastic to your length. Connect the side of the sleeve. Sew the side with 1 cm seam. Then you're going to connect the armhole of the bodice. Overlock the armhole of the bodice first. Connect the armhole of the bodice with the armhole of the sleeve with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Make sure you place the front of the sleeves with the front of the bodice and the back of the sleeves with the back side of the bodice. And you do the same for the other sleeve. Sew the armhole with 1.5 cm. Then you're going to sew the armhole edge with 1.2 cm or 1.5 cm seam. I will first start with the right sleeve. Start stitching the armhole next to the cup. You'll finish the stitching 1 cm after the back of the bodice. For the left sleeve, you're going to start stitching the armhole next to the back side of the bodice until 1 centimeter after the front cup. After sewing the armhole, you're going to insert the elastic into the channel. From the back side, I'm going to insert the loop first so I can insert the elastic from the front of the sleeve channel hole. Once the elastic is in the channel, you can try on the sleeve to see how tight and how long you want the elastic to be. When you have determined that, you can cut the elastic to the right length, including 1 centimeter seam for both sides. Or you can determine your length yourself and cut the right length before inserting the elastic into the channel. I find it useful to determine the length only after the elastic is in the channel. After you cut the length, pin the elastic to secure it. Then you're going to do a safety stitch to secure the elastic on the front and back of the sleeve. This is going to be the safety stitch of the back. And this is going to be the safety stitch of the front. Now you're going to connect the zip ties or boning to the channel of the bodice. I wanted my channels to be small, so that's why I didn't use the boning that I had. You're going to create 4 channels for the zip ties on the front and the back side. On the lining, you're going to first overlock the seam edge of the princess seam on both sides, and you do the same for the back if you're working with small bonings or zip ties. Then you're going to top stitch 1 centimeter seam on the left and right side of the seam line on the good side of the fabric. Otherwise, if you're using a boning, you could top stitch the boning along the seam line on the wrong side of the fabric. This is how the 2 channel stitches will look like. At the channels, you have to keep an open space of 1.5 centimeter from the waistline. I placed a pin 1.5 centimeter from the waistline. Measure the length for the zip ties from the bottom of the cup until 1.5 centimeter from the edge. My front length is 10 centimeter and my back length is 18 centimeter. So my 4 zip ties length are going to be 10 centimeter for the front and 18 centimeter for the back. Insert the zip ties for the front and the back into the channels. Connect the back together with the good side of the fabric facing each other and secure the center back with a pin, just so you know that the edge is going to be the center back for the zipper. This is the center back and this is the side of the back. Make sure the good side of the back is facing up. For the 2 front pieces, you're going to connect the slit edge together. This is the slit edge. Place the front piece on top of the back piece with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Connect the sides together and pin the side edge. Sew the side with 1 centimeter seam and sew the slit edge with 2 centimeter seam until the notch. I suggest to first determine where you want your slit opening to start and pin the slit edge from the waist edge until the beginning of the slit opening. The slit opening on my size, which is size XS, starts at 31.5 centimeter from the waist edge, including the waist edge seam allowance of 1.5 centimeter. Repeat the same steps for the lining pieces. It's totally optional to use a lining for the skirt. Iron the edges flat and you do the same for the lining. Then you're going to connect the waist edge of the bodice with the waist edge of the skirt. Make sure the good side of the shell and lining of the bodice are facing up. Check if the length of the waist edge of the bodice is the same length as the waist edge of the skirt. Place the shell piece of the skirt on top of the bodice with the good side of the fabric facing each other. Connect the waist edge together and make sure the seam of the slit edge and the side edge are on top of each other. Then you're going to sew the waist edge with 1.5 centimeter seam. Repeat the same steps for the lining. Sew the waist edge of the lining with 1.5 centimeter seam. After sewing the waist seam, you're going to iron the seam flat from the inside on the shell and lining. If you're not going to use a lining for the skirt, you're going to sew the slit edge with 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, which you added on the slit edge. Finish off the edge of the slit with an overlocking machine and sew the edge with 1.5 centimeter seam. Then you're going to double fold the hem and sew it with 1 centimeter seam. In case you're working with a lining for the skirt, I suggest to first finish off the hem of the shell and lining by double folding the edge and sew it with 1 centimeter seam. Since I'm working with a lining, I'm going to finish off the slit edge first, and then I'm going to finish off the hem of the shell and lining. For the slit, you're going to connect the slit edge of the shell and lining from the beginning point of the slit opening until the bottom. Pin the edges. Don't pin until the bottom of the skirt if you haven't done the hem first like I did, because you need to sew the hem. And you do the same for the other edge side of the slit. The shell of the skirt looks longer than the lining. I didn't have that much lining fabric, that's why you see a big length difference between the lining and the shell. If you're going to make this dress with the digital pattern that I made, there should only be a difference of 2 centimeters between the skirt length of the shell and lining after sewing the hem.
First, I'm going to overlock the bottom slit edge of the shell. You're going to double fold the hem and sew it with 1 centimeter seam.
To finish off the dress, you're going to apply the invisible zipper to the back of the dress with the good side of the zipper facing the good side of the shell. Place the left leg of the zipper on the shell with the good side of the zipper and shell facing each other. Place one leg of the zipper exactly from the point where you start opening the zipper on the seam edge of the bodice. To make sure you line up the waist seam on each side, I suggest to mark the waist point on each leg of the unsewn zipper. Then you're going to sew one zipper leg to the shell. After sewing one leg, you're going to line up the other zipper leg to the other side of the edge and sew the other leg of the zipper. After the zipper is attached to the back of the dress, you're going to finish off by sewing the rest of the skirt back seam edge with 2 cm seam. And finally, you're going to apply the lining edge of the back to the zipper. You have to place the right side of the lining on the right side of the shell along the zipper. Sew the edge by using a zipper foot to get close to the zipper teeth. And the same way as you sew the edge of the shell, you're going to finish up the edge by sewing the rest of the skirt seam edge with 2 cm seam. Then you're going to iron the seam flat of the skirt for a clean look. And this is the finished milkmaid dress. It looks so beautiful. I think I'm obsessed with it. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and find it helpful so you can create your own milkmaid dress. If you decide to create one, I would love to see a photo of your creation. You can send me an email or tag me on Instagram by using the hashtag ZenIDesigns. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and hit the notification bell. I see you guys in the next video. Have a blessed day. Bye.